Hello everyone, it's Jack Cotton, luxury real estate expert, author, and agent. I'm here in some beautiful, luxurious, but not overly ostentatious Cape Cod office. I want to talk to you this month about negotiation. We're going to have a 4-part series dealing with negotiation. You know, it's really an important topic for luxury real estate agents. I always feel that even though I might sell a home for $5, $10, $15, even $19 million, it's a lot of money in my market, maybe not so much in your market. But as high as that number is, the person who I'm dealing with, either on the buy side or on the sell side or both sides, is oftentimes dealing with transactions in the hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. So even though I'm selling really expensive property, oftentimes I feel outgunned. That's why I really spend a lot of time studying negotiation. And as it says here on the screen, the best way to negotiate initially is not to. Because typically when you have the need to negotiate, it's because you've received an objection from a buyer or a seller. So before you start negotiating, it's always a good idea to try to head off the objection, try to handle the objection, try to cure the objection, try to power through the objection, try to eliminate the objection so that you don't have to negotiate at all. So let's talk about 5 quick steps we can take for handling objections. I know you've heard these before, so I'm going to be kind of quick this week as we go through them. But first of all, I want to mention that I tell agents, especially at my own company, to keep a list of the toughest objections you're likely to hear and post them in the area where you work. In fact, during a sales meeting a couple of weeks ago, I asked my agents to think up all the objections they had ever come up with during a listing presentation I did in each of my 2 offices. And you know what? You really can't get past 9 objections. Here's a sample of some of the objections I heard. Will you cut your fee? Well, we always hear that one. I'm going to cover that one really in depth next week. Your price is too low. I don't want to work to prepare my home for the market. I'm not ready to sell. I don't have to sell. Here's one. I hear sellers tell me all the time, well, I really don't need to sell. I'm not in a rush. I really don't need to sell. And I found that the need to sell is inversely proportional to the number of times the seller tells you they don't need to sell. So on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th time they're telling you they don't need to sell, that's a good sign that they really do. Anyway, not enough ads in, you name it. Wherever your local paper is, they want more ads. Not ready to lower the price, want to wait for the right buyer. Not enough value put on emotional items. Don't you understand? My grandfather cut down all the trees that we milled into the boards that built this chair rail and raised paneling in the family room. Surely a buyer will appreciate and pay top dollar for my house because of all that. What are your objections? What are the toughest objections you've heard from your seller? I challenge you, try this at a sales meeting. Try to get more than 9 objections. I bet you can. Anyway, here's some basics on objections. Think of it as a question. You know, if you're not getting an objection, it's like going to the hospital. It's like being a physician and you have a patient without a pulse. So if you have a client without an objection, you basically have a client without a pulse. So objections are good. They're a sign that they're alive. It's a sign that they are interested. It's a sign that they want more information. Just think of it as a question, and you need just to answer that question they have in their mind. There's 5 simple steps to doing that. We'll go through them real quick. You know these by heart anyway. Number 1, pause. Pause. When somebody raises an objection, just pause. Silence is golden. I'll talk more about silence next week when we talk about negotiating tactics, but pause, wait, be quiet. Oh, I know how tough that is for you to do. Silence is golden. Number 2 is to repeat and acknowledge the objection. You want them to know you are heard. You know, Stephen Covey says, seek first to understand before you can be understood. So you want to make sure that the seller or the buyer knows you understand and acknowledge the objection. Repeat it right back to them to make sure they understand. Seek first to understand. I can understand why you don't want to pay more than you have to get your property sold. Number 3 is to isolate the objection. You want to make sure it's the only one they have. The best example I can give here is when you get a home inspection report back and say it's your listing, the other agent calls you up and says, oh, they found some bad shingles on the dormer, and you can run back to the seller, oh, there's some bad shingles on the dormer, and the seller says, all right, I'll fix those or I'll make a credit. You go back to the agent and say, oh, my seller will take care of the bad shingles on the dormer. And then, great. Well, there's also a leaky faucet in the master bath. So you go running back to your seller, tell them about the leaky faucet in the master bath. If you don't isolate the items from the home inspection and say, is this it? Is this your list? They'll keep coming up with more ones, more objections, more problems, more issues. So when you hear an objection, you want to say, well, other than the commission, other than my price, other than the length of my listing contract, my commission and my price and my refusal to do ads in the newspaper, are you ready to hire me tonight? Isolate the objections, because once you isolate them, then you can move on to step 4, which is to deal with the objection. Handle it. Just come up with something to handle the objection. Find a solution. And then number 5 is to just close the deal. Close the deal. Sign the paperwork. Get it done. That's the important part. Would you like me to go to work on the sale of your property right now? Would you like to sign the papers authorizing me to go to work on the sale of your property right now? These 5 steps will work most of the time to overcome an objection, overcome a difference of opinion, overcome differences in position, if you will. But sometimes they don't, and that's when we have to talk about negotiation. And we'll begin next week by talking about some dirty tricks, not that you're going to use, but that other people might use against you so that you can be aware of them. I'll show you some illustrations of dirty tricks and how they work and how you can overcome them and not be intimidated by them. Okay, kind of a long session today, but don't forget, the first Tuesday of every month, luxuryrealestateunplugged.com. Go to luxuryrealestateunplugged.com. Check it out. It's the best coaching situation for luxury real estate agents. Case closed anywhere. Think of it as one-on-one coaching in a group setting. First Tuesday of every month. It's really reasonable for a year's worth of coaching, less than you pay for a month most other places. So anyway, think about these 5 steps. Next time we'll talk about some negotiating tactics. It'll take 2 weeks to cover all the tactics I have, so stay tuned. And until then, make it a great week.